October to December short rains typically marks the recovery period for depleted pasture and water sources, but once more, the rains fell short this season. The community here is heavily dependent on livestock, and as their herds weaken, their livelihood is threatened.
We want to work with the national government, the Drought Preparedness Agency, to make sure that we assist farmers or livestock keepers in getting water, because water is going to get scarce, and also where it's going to be necessary to provide some relief.
Current estimates show that 1.3 million people in the country are food insecure. The county government says it has set aside emergency funds to help.
Again, we're watching this press conference that's about to begin at Lilian Towers here in Nairobi. The IEBC about to give a deadline and kind of a roadmap for the next month or so of voter registration, the last major nationwide one before the election in August. And we expect that they will be talking about how they intend to register something like 6 million voters in that period. As soon as it begins, we're going to take you to that live. But in the meantime, we want to cover some of the things that are happening right now as we just await that. It's a very busy political season, and there's obviously a lot of politics happening this weekend, especially some leaders, for instance, in Kwale County, allied to the ODM party, accusing the Jubilee administration of misusing security machinery to intimidate the opposition, especially Mombasa Governor Hassan Joho. Nominated MP Zulekha Hassan and other religious leaders spoke hours after Coast Regional Coordinator Nelson Maro said that Joho had not been arrested. I want to take you right now, though, live to Lilian Towers. That press conference by the IEBC just starting. Let's listen in.
Tell us when you're ready. Are we ready? Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. This is the IEBC team, and we wish to update you with respect to the mass voter registration campaign that we are about to commence starting tomorrow. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, wishes to announce to the public that it will conduct a 30-day countrywide mass voter registration drive from Monday 16th January to Tuesday 14th February 2017. This will be the last registration campaign before the August 8th, 2017 elections. It should be recognized that the Constitution gives every Kenyan the right to participate in political processes. Registering to vote is one way through which this right may be realized. And that's why the IEBC is availing another opportunity for eligible Kenyans to register to vote in the upcoming general elections. Before the March 2013 general election, 14.4 million Kenyans enrolled as voters. And as of December 2016, over 15.9 million Kenyans had been registered, subject to verification and certification by the Commission, a process that will be undertaken after mass voter registration too. Information we received from the National Registration Bureau indicates that by November 2016, over 9 million Kenyans had been issued with national identification cards but remain unregistered as voters. We are therefore targeting to register persons who have never registered as voters at any time between 2012 and 2016, and persons who have recently attained voting age and acquired a national identity card. And the Commission estimates to receive 6 million additional voters in the best case scenario and 4 million voters in the worst case scenario. What are the requirements for registration? For one to be registered as a voter, he or she must be a Kenyan of 18 years of age and above, have an original national identification card or a valid Kenyan passport. And they must present themselves physically at the registration center of their choice. We also want to notify that registration will be done by capturing biometric and alphanumeric data of the applicants. The biometric enrollment will involve the capturing of the fingerprints. With respect to registration centers, the 2013 registration centers as revised shall be used during the registration exercise. In total, we shall have 24,613 registration centers across the country. And this includes 24,559 registration centers that were used during the MVR1 and 54 centers that had been degazetted for MVR1. About 300 registration centers have been amended in terms of names, and in addition, registration centers in Mandera East and Lafay constituencies will change due to the realignment of constituency boundaries in accordance with the Court of Appeal decision. Requests for transfers and change of voter registration particulars shall be undertaken at IEBC constituency offices across the country. This will free up other clerks in the field to handle new applications of voters. With respect to BVR kit distribution, we have already noted that, reported that 7,793 BVR kits will be deployed countrywide based on the county assembly ward size. During the MVR1, the Commission deployed 5,756 kits, which were not optimally utilized given the constraints of budget. The consequence was such that 2 kits ended up at 1 registration center. This time round, a kit will serve 1 registration center at a time. The criteria used in the distribution of kits is meant to ensure that potential voters are not discouraged by long distances to reach registration centers. Each county assembly ward will have a minimum of 3 kits and a maximum of 10 kits. A list of distribution can be accessed on the Commission's website, and the list will basically show you the distribution of kits per county assembly ward, constituency, and at the county level. In order to increase access, we have allowed our registration officers to open the kits at the constituency level. This means that whenever you find a kit within the constituency, you may register as long as you intend to vote in that particular constituency. Our voter registration assistants will also draw up kit movement schedules in consultation with stakeholders at the ward level. The schedules will be communicated to locals using appropriate media. But we have also recruited 2,900 voter educators at the county assembly ward to aid in publicizing the kit movement schedule. This time round, the Commission will deploy over 1,421 staff for the exercise. This includes 290 registration officers, 290 assistant registration officers, 1,775 voter registration assistants, 2 per each ward, and 2,900 ward-based voter educators, 580 ICT support assistants, and 15,586 clerks. We are also going to have an increased media presence at the national and county level. That means media campaign. We have mapped out an elaborate media campaign plan which started running from today. In addition, the Commission will run an annual voter education week from 23rd to 29th January to bolster the registration drive. In the last 1 week, the Commission has engaged various stakeholders by organizing consultative forums at national and county levels ahead of the mass voter registration campaign. And in particular, we met the media, political parties, state actors, civil society groups, and faith-based organizations, among others. And during these engagements, we call upon everyone to support the registration campaign, because this is for all of us. The law stipulates that voter registration shall not be held in areas with pending by-elections. Therefore, arrangements will be made to conduct voter registration at a later time in Mumbere's Maji Mazuri ward in Baringo County and Central Kanyamkago ward in Migori County. By-elections in the two areas are scheduled to take place on March 22nd, 2017. In conclusion, I want to note that in the last few months, we have, as a country, been involved in very polarizing debates. We have held extreme views on certain policy decisions concerning elections. While we may have points of disagreement, which is part of democracy, we must also have shared positions. We believe that registration of voters is something each of us must agree on. Let all Kenyans, leaders across the board, state and non-state actors, get out there and mobilize eligible citizens to register as voters. For us as a commission, we also commit to share updates on progress of registration each week as we advance towards having a credible voter register. Thank you very much. Yes, yeah, state your name. And
what preparation has IEBC put in place to assist those people who have disabilities, maybe TV? You as IEBC, what are the preparation you put in place to handle those people who have disability, as you've said that registration will be based on fingerprints, maybe the people without hand and so on? Thank you.
yes, next one.
Okay, my name is Kennedy Epalat from KBC. Well, I just wanted to know, since you just pointed out clearly that voters must be Kenyans above 18 years, and in some places, especially in our border counties, specifically Teso North constituency, there are reports that some people from Uganda are being registered for purposes of acquiring national ID cards so that they can participate in the voting. I don't know what action you're taking with this regard. And also there are claims by certain politicians that BVR kits taken to opposition strongholds are fewer compared with the number of potential voters.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, please.
Tino from the Standard. Just want to get a clarification. Will the Commission register voters in the diaspora, and will also the Commission register voters in the prisons? If so, what are the plans, and what are the challenges that you are likely to face in that exercise? Thank you.
Okay, let me respond to those ones first. And my colleagues are here to help me respond to areas that I think I need help. With respect to disability, we are very much aware about that. And our system is such that if you show up at the polling station and because of disability, you don't have fingers, or yeah, what the system allows the officer to do is to skip that stage of biometric capture, and you must be able to make a note in the system that this person showed up and they did not have fingers, or they had a certain disability to the extent that we could not capture their fingerprints. So there's a procedure to be followed in that case. And of course, the emphasis here now will be on the photograph that has to be taken, so that the same can be correlated during the time of authentication at the time of voting. With respect to national ID cards for border towns, of course, there's a lot of talk around such issues. The responsibility to issue national identification cards really rests with the National Registration Bureau. Our role is to register people who have IDs and they show up at our registration centers. But it's important, I think, that all actors find a way of monitoring so that only eligible Kenyans who have legally acquired ID cards are allowed to register as voters, really. So this goes beyond the commission, and we call upon all actors to be vigilant along those areas that you mentioned, really. With respect to distribution of kits, I can tell you without fear of contradiction that the formula we've used to distribute kits is the fairest, the most equitable that you can ever have. And we've said you're going to find it on our website. You can look at it. You can do a bit of simulation the way you want. And for us, we don't say, you know, this is opposition, this is a government party. We are looking out for Kenyans who are eligible to register as voters to do so. One of the things, of course, I noted is that for the distribution, every county assembly ward will either have a minimum of 3 or a maximum of 10 kits. In wards such as Port Reitz, which is ward number 1 in Mombasa, it measures 4 square kilometers. It has 3 registration centers. It's gonna get 3 kits, which means every day, if you went to a registration center in that particular place, you'll find a kit. The county assembly wards, which are vast, in places like North Hall, the maximum that they're entitled is 10 kits. So on average, a kit will spend at the registration center 10 days. And that is much more compared to what we had in the first registration campaign. So there is issues around distance to be covered by an individual when seeking to register, but also there's a question of population, in the sense that the way the county assemblies were demarcated, those parameters of population, size, social amenities were taken into consideration to find equitable distribution. And we are confident with the formula that we've applied so far. And by the way, it's not so much about the number of kits. It's about how many people you also mobilize to ensure that they show up where the kit is. With respect to diaspora and prisoners, or we call them institutionalized potential voters, this is a matter that, with respect to diaspora, we hope that the new commission that is coming on board, hopefully next week also, will make a decision on this. We've been able to provide options in terms of which countries to go to, but that requires a bit of consultation with policymakers, that's the commission, as well as other actors in this matter. But we have time to be able to carry out registration in the diaspora as long as we agree on the countries. With respect to prisons, again, we have a program for prisons. We have not decided on the date, partly because there are certain logistical challenges that we have to deal with. When you go into prison, when you're in confinement, your ID is taken away. And yet we need that ID to register you. So we must make special arrangements with the prison managers to allow us access to do that exercise. So we're having discussions that are likely going to see the prisoners register. And of course, the other challenge I will say is that by the time we're going to get into prison, say, committee, the time spent by prisoners in committee is temporary. So will the place they select to register as voters be the same place they will end up voting at the end when elections come? So we are looking at those nuances, and we'll be able to advise the country in terms of where we are headed with that. Any?
I know that the commission had issues getting data, actual data of actually the number of people we are supposed to register. Do you now have that data even as you wait for the new commission to take over? My name is Ongiri.
Okay, yes, ask your question.
Naitwa Masialomba kutoka Kwetu Radio. Ningependa tafadhali ujibu haya maswali kwenye lugha ya Kiswahili. Mwanzo ningependa uelezee maandalizi ambayo mmeafikia kufikia sasa watu wanapotarajia kwanza kusajiliwa kesho. Swala la pili ni kuhusu yale madai ya kwamba vifaa vya BVR vichache sana vimepelekwa katika baadhi ya maeneo haswa mrengo upinzani. Na ili swala la watu wa kuhamahama, sijui mnalishughulikia vipi ikizingatiwa kwa sasa watu wanatoroka yale makali ya ukame na njaa katika baadhi ya maeneo nchini.
Right, thank you. My name is Gashuri. There's a lot of excitement about this voter registration and the mobilization that is being done by various political parties. There's also the question of those who are registered previously. They will most likely show up in the polling stations, probably to confirm whether their registration details are still there. How do you demarcate between those who want to confirm whether they're still in the register and those who are fresh voters who want to come and register? Or will you set aside a specific time thereafter for guys to come and inspect the registers? And secondly, in terms of the movement of people, especially in ASAL areas, the previous concern was that some people turned up because they knew the registration kits were in a certain area, but they don't find them when they come over. How do you ensure that people don't have to walk long distances? And secondly, that they are sure that when they turn up, they're going to find the kits. And thirdly, the question of people who want to move from one polling station to another. When you say they will do so at the constituency offices, how do you make them aware of where these constituency offices are? Or will they just turn up at polling stations and probably get frustrated by this process? And what is the wisdom in this? Is it to avoid what was seen as mass voter transportation or some mischief by politicians?
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Clive Ayuko from the Whistling African. And my question to you would be, the biggest threat to electoral commissions or electoral bodies like you are actually the political parties, and the major figures actually playing a very big part in our political system. And this, I believe, are part section CORD and part section Jubilee. And these are actually the people who can actually, with the snap of a finger, actually cast aspirations on your credibility by saying these particular results are not credible. And it is actually happening across Africa. We have instances where actually aspirants are actually telling the public that these elections are not credible, and we're having very many problems. And actually, are you working with these particular political figures, these particular major figures in our political system, to actually tone down on any credibility on the institution that is IEBC? Thank you.
Okay, can we go with that? That's the last one.
Thank you so very much. My name is Enoch Sikolia from NTV. Now, my question is on the number of BVR kits that will be used. The last time the question was raised, the opposition wanted each polling station with a BVR kit. The issue was about logistics last time. What is it this time round? Don't you have the budget to ensure that each polling station has a BVR kit?
Okay, Skole, I should start with that one. We're going to register voters in slightly above 24,000 registration centers. Those registration centers will later be converted into polling centers. And it's the polling centers that give rise to polling stations. So in one polling center, you might end up finding five polling stations. So when you talk about polling stations, it means much more than just the number 44 that you're highlighting. So, but I gather your point when you say that the demand is to have a kit per registration center. That was, given the resources that we have, we cannot go there. Even in the last election, we only had 15,000 kits distributed, purchased and distributed for registration, and we got 14.4 million voters. This time around, given the serviceability of the kits that we have, we could only get about 8,000 for purposes of sharing across the country. And those are the ones that we're trying to distribute equitably across the board. And to ensure that we get maximum benefit per kit is that whenever you go in a constituency and you find our kit and you want to vote in that particular constituency, you're allowed to actually register where that kit will be, regardless of which county assembly ward you're coming from. So to balance that issue of having kits at every station. With respect to what someone talked about, credibility issues, I think that was generally a general question around the institution. And I think you're also aware that we've been through a process starting September, actually June this year, that has led to restructuring or changing the commissioners. And we hope, or according to many actors, observers, we're going to have a strong commission that is acceptable across the board. That is the thinking behind that. But I can assure you that we've gone out of our way to reach out to the critical players on this in terms of ensuring that we all participate in ensuring that the coming elections are credible. Francis, you talk about fresh registration versus people coming to confirm whether they are registered voters or not. I want to also assure you that, of course, our focus now is to ensure that all eligible voters who have not registered are registered as voters. However, if you want to confirm whether you are a registered voter or not, you can still show up at the polling station where you're registered to get that confirmation. But the law gives us, or gives every Kenyan another opportunity. After this mass voter registration is complete on 14th of February this year, 60 days before the election, we'll open the register specifically for purposes of verification or confirmation of registration details. And that will happen between, that is May 10th and June 9th. Initially, it was April 10th to May 10th, but following the changes to the law, or to the amendments that were recently signed, that time has been pushed to 60 days before the election. You open the voter register for purposes of verification for a period of 30 days. So that opportunity will come. And the Commission is also going to avail the registration information on the web portal, and as well as confirmation through SMS. So that opportunity will come. In terms of the schedule or movement of the kits, what we've done is that we have recruited 2,900 voter educators or mobilizers at each and every ward. And one of their responsibilities is to sensitize the public in terms of where the kits will be available, so that as many people as possible get to know. We're also collaborating with the local administrators, both from the national government and the county government, to ensure that the public is well sensitized. And again, to re-emphasize the point that unlike the mass voter registration one, where a kit will spend 1 day or 2 days at the registration center, here we are talking of, in the worst case scenario, 10 days per registration center. In the best case scenario, 30 days per registration center. On average, it will be about 15 days per registration center. That will be adequate time for actually people to be able to find the kit. Yes, with respect to diaspora and data, which is also a problem, it remains to be a problem. However, we have been able to use what we call proxy data to have an idea in terms of how the Kenyan population abroad is spread. And it's based on that information that we want to advise the new commission in terms of the options available with respect to diaspora registration and voting. Lastly, Kwetu Radio, you wanted feedback in Swahili. Ningeweza kusema kwamba usajili wa wapiga kura utaanza hapo kesho kwa siku 30, na tunatarajia Wakenya waweze kujitokeza kwa wingi kujiandikisha kupiga kura, haswa kuzingatia kwamba hatutakuwa na muda mwingine wa kuweza kuandikisha wapiga kura. Na katika harakati hiyo, tume inatarajia kwamba tutaweza kuandikisha takribani wapiga kura wapya 4 mpaka 6 na tunataraji kupata wale wapiga kura ambao wameweza kuhitimu miaka 18 na wana vitambulisho, wana kitambulisho ama pasipoti, na pia wanapokuja katika vituo vya kupiga kura wataweza kuchukuliwa fingerprint zao, vidole zao zitaweza kuchukuliwa, na hiyo ndio tunaita biometric registration. Na pia picha yako itaweza kuchukuliwa ndiposa uweze kuwekwa katika orodha ya wapiga kura. Jambo lingine ni kusema kwamba tumeweza kupeana mitambo ya BVR nchi nzima. Tumepata mitambo 7793 na mitambo hii itaweza kupeanwa katika kila wodi, na wodi ile ambao ni ndogo sana itapewa mitambo kama BVR kits 3, na zile kubwa zitaweza kupewa BVR kits 10. Na tumefanya hivyo kuwezesha wananchi popote walipo waweze kuwa na muda mfupi wa kuweza kupata ile BVR kit ili waweze kujiandikisha kupiga kura. Pia tungeweza kusema kwamba tunatazamia kufanya kazi pamoja na viongozi tofauti, mashirika ya dini na wale wa civil society ili kuwezesha wananchi wengi kujitokeza kujiandikisha kupiga kura. Na pia jambo la mwisho tungesema hapa ni kwamba tumeweza kuandika wafanyakazi 21,000 ambao watafanya kazi tofauti ili kuwezesha mpango huu wa kuandikisha kura kuweza kufaulu. Na zile sehemu ambazo zinaenda kuwa na uchaguzi mdogo ama by elections, na haswa Mumberes, Maji Mazuri na Central Kanyamgago ward kutoka kule Migori, kuandikisha kura hakutaendelea kule mpaka tumalize kura tarehe 22 mwezi wa Machi mwaka huu. So tunasema kwamba wananchi waweze kujitokeza kwa wingi, kwa sababu huu ndio muda wa mwisho wa kuweza kujiandikisha kura, ndiposa uweze kusikika katika kura zijazo ambazo zitafanywa tarehe 8 Agosti mwaka huu. Asante sana. Thank you very much. Okay. Yeah, pia I just wanted to emphasize that with respect to the kit, previously kits will be locked to ward level. That meant unless you are within that particular ward, and sometimes in a specific polling center or registration center, you cannot register anywhere else. However, this time round, we've opened the kit up to the constituency level to enable a person who intends to vote in that particular constituency, in whichever ward, at whichever polling station, to be able to register wherever they're going to find the kit. So that's what has been emphasized. Okay, I think voter transfers. Or the reason why? Just also to report that in the last mass voter registration campaign, we also received 700,000 applications for purposes of transfer. That is people moving from one electoral area to another electoral area. Now, the law on transfer is also very clear, that whoever seeks to transfer from one electoral area to another electoral area, you must go to that electoral area that you want to go to. Go to the constituency, to the registration office in the constituency and make that particular application. Now, given the human resource that we have so far, and given the potential high turnout that we're likely going to see in this coming mass voter registration, and given the lessons learned in the first mass voter registration exercise, we are advising the country that those people seeking to transfer as voters, they should go and make that application at our constituency offices across the country. We have an office in each of the 290 constituencies. And if you do not know where the location is, we have that information on the website. And another thing I should say that we're going to avail the information of the contact information of all registration officers. I will make it public for purposes of ease of communication or clarification in the event it is required. Okay, being also reminded that with respect to the by-elections, because the registration will not take place, we are putting in place mechanisms of ensuring that an opportunity is also availed to those people within those particular wards to register at the right time before the conclusion of the register. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming, and we call upon you to support us as we support the rest of the country to build a better democracy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The information by the CEO will be available to you on email, and there is lunch served somewhere at the back. You can grab something before you go back to the newsrooms. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Indeed, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission just launching the voter registration exercise that takes place or begins tomorrow until the 14th of February here. And actually the CEO of the commission insisting on some or making clarification on some of the concerns that have been raised by various stakeholders in this exercise. But first, let's look at the numbers. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has just announced that right now in the books, 15.9 million Kenyans are registered as voters, and it expects to enroll between 4 million to 6 million Kenyans, with the number of eligible Kenyans Kenyans who are eligible to register as voters are standing out at 9 million, over 9 million in the number. That is as per November last year. So those are the numbers that actually the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission is targeting, with Kenyans expected to turn out in high numbers, given the political pressure and the political campaigns that have been there by various political parties led by the Jubilee and the opposition coalitions, looking at enhancing their mass, enhancing their voters' numbers. Now, Another issue that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has clarified is the issue of voter transfers, insisting that those who want to transfer from the registration centers they initially registered in needs to go to the new centers they intend to vote come August. So the CEO has insisted that those who want to transfer must actually go to those centers where they want to cast their ballot that come August 2017. Now, another issue also that that has been talked about is why 7,793 BVR kits will be used across the country. The electoral body maintaining that it has been hampered by resources. Given the resources that the body has been allocated, it won't manage to distribute BVR kits to almost every registration center. Now it has mapped out that it will be able to distribute 7,793 BVR kits, depending on the size and population of different wards. So given a particular ward might receive between 3 to 10 BVR kits, as I told you earlier, depending on the size and the population of those wards. So the IEBC has just launched, as I told you earlier, launched the exercise that begins tomorrow and ends on the 14th of February. This is a very important time and the election cycle of the country, and remembering that this will be the last phase of voter registration ahead of the August elections, and the political parties have been campaigning to ensure that their followers, the areas, especially from areas where it's perceived their strongholds, come out in large numbers to register as voters. So here from Lillian Towers, the IEBC has launched, and back to you, Larry, at the Nation Center. My name is Enoch Sikole.
Enoch and the team at Lillian Towers, many thanks. It should be an interesting situation. If we already have 15.9 million registered voters, they're targeting another 6 million. So we're looking at a possibility of about 22 million registered voters. They said worst case scenario, they get 4 million registered voters. That will not be too bad. Begins tomorrow. Go find out where you need to be registered. If you're not registered, you need an ID, show up, they'll take your fingerprints, and we'll have you registered. That's running from tomorrow until the 14th of February. Let's cover other stories of the day. I mean, it's a happy occasion. You and I have some time for an hour just to go through what's happening today. So let's go through it, shall we? Pastoralists who have invaded private farms in Laikipia have been put on notice and ordered to vacate the farms before police take action. Devolution Cabinet Secretary Mwangi Kiunjuri has ordered the local administration to immediately drive away the pastoralists and their animals as they are threatening the peace and harmony among horticulture farmers.
The dry lands in Laikipia are a clear indication that pastoralists are being ravaged by the ongoing drought. Most of these areas have not had a drop of rain for the past 3 months, and the livestock are beginning to get affected. The tough weather conditions have now forced pastoralists to invade farms in search of water and pasture, but this invasion is creating disharmony between the local communities. Speaking in Olmoran in Laikipia, Cabinet Secretary Mwangi Kiunjuri, angered by the latest pastoralist invasion of farms in Laikipia and Nyeri, has ordered the local administration and police to take action.
OCPD, County Commissioner. Deputy County Commissioner. OCPD. Kila mtu aheshimiwe. Kama kuna mtu analisha ng'ombe mashamba mengine, kesho asubuhi sinachana anza kuodoa mara moja. Kesho saa 12 endelea na ururu leo kuhakikisha maneno. Sasa etini chini.
Kiunjuri says all pastoralists from Samburu must now seek permission from local elders in Laikipia before accessing the grazing fields.
Na kama mtaongea na wenye kijiji, wale wasema wa kijiji na wenyeji hawajakubali huwezi ingia kwa nguvu. You cannot be allowed.
Meanwhile, Kiunjuri has also warned Laikipia North Member of Parliament Matthew Lempurkel against inciting the pastoralists to invade private farms.
I want to tell Matthew this. Wewe unaweza kukanisha watu, lakini one thing that you want to tell Matthew, hatutakubalia wewe kukanisha watu wa Laikipia. Hakuna siasa ingine na ingilia. Lakini hii kitu ya kwanza Matthew, lazima tutakungoa kwa kiti.
The CS, who is in charge of devolution, however, says his ministry is also in the process of purchasing hay for the pastoralists whose animals could die due to lack of pasture. Natural Resources PS Margaret Mwakima said the government has set aside 200 million shillings to fence a conservancy in the area that has been at the center of human-wildlife conflict. Nimrotabu, NTV.
Some leaders in Kwale County allied to the ODM party are accusing the Jubilee administration of misusing security machinery to intimidate the opposition, especially Mombasa Governor Hassan Joho. Nominated MP Zulekha Hassan and other leaders spoke hours after Coast Regional Coordinator Nelson Marwa said that Joho had not been arrested and that he had tried to block the interrogation of a suspect.
Tunataka kuambia serikali ya Jubilee, sasa tuna katiba mpya, vyombo vya security ama vya usalama si venu vya kibinafsi, kwa sababu mko kwenye uongozi, ni mali ya umma yote, inatakana isaidie umma wote na si kutumiwa kama siasa. Kwa hivyo tunaghadhabishwa, tunaambia Jubilee hiyo tabia waiwache, na mwanzo sasa tutaenda kwenye mwaka wa kura, kila kitu kiende kidemokrasia, kiende sawa na kiende kisheria.
Tunalaani kitendo hicho na sicho kitendo cha kidemokrasia, na ni kuvunjiwa heshima viongozi na vile vile kuvunjiwa ule utu wa uongozi. Hii inatupeleka kwamba serikali ya Jubilee lengo lake ni kurudisha ule utawala wa miaka ya 80 ambapo chama kilikuwa ni kimoja.
The Jubilee KANU supremacy battle for control of the Rift Valley vote is expected to go a notch higher after Jubilee leaders in West Pokot slammed Gideon Moi's KANU party, accusing its leadership of playing divisive politics. Here's Kevin Mutai.
Jubilee and KANU parties are locked in a fierce political battle in areas perceived to be strongholds of Gideon Moi's party ahead of August general election.
Jubilee wako nyumbani katika West Pokot County na watadiliwa viti vyote kutoka senator, governor, wajumbe, MCS, women rep.
In a contest which is likely to determine which party reigns in the North Rift, Jubilee leaders in West Pokot are claiming that KANU is playing politics that will divide the region. The leaders accuse their rivals of disrespecting Deputy President William Ruto, saying the Jubilee party has gained popularity in the region. A bruising battle between KANU and Jubilee is expected to continue as leaders from both parties vow to defend their political outfits. Kevin Mutai, NTV.
A familiar political face is making a comeback. Former Finance Minister Amos Kimunya has his eyes set again on the Kipipiri parliamentary seat. Kimunya is said to be conducting high-profile engagements with opinion shapers in the constituency and is expected to rely on his past record in government. The former minister is also mobilizing residents to register as voters, adding that it is the only way to help redefine the future of the politics in that region. He will run on a Jubilee ticket.
My calling is in the National Assembly, where we require, going forward, we require to improve on the quality of debate in that house and on taking the national agenda forward and in supporting the president in his last term from Parliament. So that's why I've taken the decision that I'll be going to Parliament through the people of Kipipiri and to continue the work that I started in 2003, was interrupted in 2013, and unfortunately nothing much has been happening, and I would want to give back to people before I get to ward.
Tukiwa na chama moja kiko na nguvu vile tuko na Jubilee na tutapata viti vingi kupitisha miswada ya serikali katika kaunti ya Sebre, katika National Assembly, katika Senate itakuwa rahisi. Na mimi madhumuni yangu hasa ni kuwaunganisha watu ya Nyandarua na kuhakikisha ya kwamba mali ya Nyandarua, rasilimali ya Nyandarua imegawanywa kisawa.
Let's also cover your sports real quick before we go. The women's final of the Africa Cup of Club Hockey Championship is currently underway, with defending champions Telkom Orange battling Ghana Revenue Authority